gathered friends, welcome. It has been a while, hasn't it? This is Getting Uncaged as part of the APX oeuvre. I don't like that pronunciation. I'll use the phonetic one instead. Keep it nice and concise. Oeuvre. Sharing mindsets, philosophies, and some democratic lessons in order to help build a better leadership today so we can lead the next generation to come tomorrow. I do admit it has been a while since we've done one of these episodes, and let me throw this in before we get to the main subject. It sort of serves as a segue, pardon the tongue twister as always, as to why I had taken a break with regards to doing the solo show. A lot of personal things had happened, and for me as a person, the personal and the professional should never collide, but for me it was unavoidable. That being said, I should have actually taken more proactive steps and ensured that I had the right institute, constitution, and structure in place to help overcome the emotional backsliding that I had experiencing. Long story short, friends of mine had hurt me for no reason. It cost me professionally, and as a result, I was bitter because of it. That purely is just not the excuse that I should have, because I'm the one who sits here behind this desk recording these shows, telling you to move on constructively. But then again, I'm the one who is not busy practicing what I'm preaching, am I? So there might have been some of you who thought maybe this person is just another snake oil salesman trying to be famous for the purpose of being famous. Who am I to dissuade you otherwise or divorce you from that notion? Shakespeare himself said, a man in his life plays many parts because all the world is a stage. Actually, the order of that works backwards, but nevertheless. So here I sit. I shove my pride in my pocket, and I am back here sharing with you, and hopefully you'll take some lessons that I have learned, especially the last while, and incorporate it into your life. The whole reason why I started this show is, as I said, I've had a very school of hard knocks existence. Not many were willing to take me by the hand and show me the ropes, so a lot of what I have learned is trial and error. But once the elevator is up, the job is of me to send it back down, isn't it? And I've always wanted to see a better pedigree of men in today's existence, because social-wise we're not doing well. And if you happen to be of the opposite sex and you take something very valuable from this, come along. Never did I ever say that this is an exclusive platform. I've always tried to help move the needle forward to the discussions that are most monumentally needed. So please join in. And if you'd like to appear on the show, if you subscribe to my newsletter, you can get in touch with me. If you have a wonderful service, pardon me one moment, I just want to get a drink of water. It's springtime here in South Africa, and as a result, the pollen in the air, excess of it, causes my sinusitis to act up and my throat to close at some point or another, so pardon for that. If you've got a feasible product or service that can help move the conversation forward and move the needle forward, I'd be happy to have you. Learn from you as you learn from me. This is, after all, the University of Life. Before getting into today's topic, I would like to invite you to become part of our sponsorships, of which I am a proud ambassador. I don't take any money from them. I am an ambassador for them because I'm passionate about recovery equally as I am to leadership development and masculine development. They go by the name of Light Up the World, Rockstar Testimony, and also Sober is the New Cool, who are spearheaded individually by Sandra Lee and Kim Ballas. You can follow them on social media. You can look them up at their website. If you go on Instagram and just go in the search bar, type in Rockstar Testimony and or Love and Light to the World or Sober is the New Cool. There are their social media platforms on Instagram. Also comes with a website upon which you can read them further. And they're doing monumental work in the field of recovery from addiction and mental health illness. In fact, if I have not said this before, I'll say it now for perpetuity's sake. Kim Ballas has partnered with the Douglas Foundation of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It is a storied institute who are consistently championing new methods and also persistently raising funds to help people get better. And a quarter of the profits which are obtained from the sale of apparel under the Sober is the New Cool brand name, a portion of that goes straight to the Douglas Foundation in order to fund research. So with all the housekeeping out of place, today's topic, what I want to talk about, is what I've been doing called Getting Back Up 10. If there is anything integral that you should take from this speech, is you need to develop leather skin. Today we have what is colloquially known as the victim mentality, because it just becomes so easy that the moment things go instantly pear-shaped, that the world is against us. There's also that dilapidated viewpoint about us versus them. Believe me, that formula does exist, because how victim mentality is different from us versus them. Us versus them is where you are trying to excel, others are trying to pull you down. It extends in the realm of personal growth, equal to that of politics. That last mentioned, I'm not going to get into. You have your opinion, as I have my perception. As long as we keep it within the realms of the voting booth, let's agree to disagree and all come together and sing Kumbaya. But back to the leather skin. What I mean by that is why you have to develop leather skin. The more hits you obtain, the pain receptors in your body start to become more numb. So your endurance gets a whole lot more higher and your threshold starts to become more present. Unfortunately, referring back to the victim mentality formula quickly, it's far too easy to play the victim mentality, and we've seen it a lot in especially social circles within the Hollywood structure, where someone has done something wrong, a person is forced into remaining silent, and the moment that they speak, a whole bunch of names come under crossfire, as we saw with the Weinstein scandal, where, in my opinion, nice price, shit fit, and a lot of unnecessary repercussions were dealt out to people who weren't even guilty in the first place. Take Kevin Spacey, all because of the victim mentality. But what I will agree with is when you are dished out the hit initially, it is drastically painful, and dramatically so. When I lost my job, I didn't even see it coming by a mile, not even more than a mile, because to me, I treated all my colleagues with fairness, respect. I complimented them when they did a good job. I was trying to be a team player, and when they all ganged up on me to have me booted out, it hit me like a punch to the sternum. Best characterization I could use. But the one question I never asked myself, because I was too up my own backside, is what do I do with the circumstances that have been dished out to me? And I'll repeat it again for perpetuity's sake. What do I do with the circumstances that have been dished out to me? Because that determines the pedigree of which upon I move forward, and that helps healing. In the recovery circle upon which I move rather regularly, it is important and imperative, those actually mean the same thing. So it's imperative rather to forgive. And forgiveness, a lot of people, I think, have the idea that it just becomes immediate. The moment that you say, I forgive, it's supposed to come and go. It's not the truth. It's an elongated issue. It's good to verbalize it, because you put it into action, of course, but at the same time, what are the tools? Well, the tools that have worked for me most certainly is educating myself, reading books, doing the hobbies that I love to do, at which I naturally excel, which promotes serotonin rather than going for a dopamine hit, which you get from sweets and other substances which are of detriment, like alcohol and drugs, of which I partook in for a good portion of my adolescent and early adulthood. So finding a replacement to give you that feeling to excel helps the healing process. And then If I'm not the only one to say it, then I'll certainly be the next one to say it, and I will certainly not be the last. Talk to someone because you need it, just to help you get that pain off your chest. Now, paramount to that having a good listener, it's paramount as well that you do the listening, because I have experience in where someone comes to me and tells me what it is that's on their heart, what's weighing on their heart, and I listen. But when I speak in sharing advice, it's taken in the wrong way. But unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it because I listen to my gut. And if I want to counsel someone, I do it out of love. But if it's taken in the wrong way, then, well, you know what? There's nothing that I can do. And unfortunately, we need to hold one another more accountable in this life. There, I said it. And if it's taken as judgment, well, hit the road, Jack. Which is the perfect segue to my second bullet point of getting back up 10, which is the IDGAF muscle. If you want me to do it phonetically, India Delta Alpha Golf Foxtrot. Another sort of doy aspect I want to mention with regards to this second bullet point is envy and gluttony will always be, unfortunately, an endemic in our society today. If you are doing well than the next person, they will try and bring you down to their level. Isn't that what the us versus them mentality also acclimates to? So whether you're doing well or you're doing poorly in life, you're going to be looked at or talked down to. My question to you is, why are you supposed to care? Really, why are you supposed to care? And I'll tell you why I pose that rhetorical question. I know all of us want acceptance and reverence and appreciation, but we're not going to get it from every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes across our way. Refer to the first highlight that I just alluded to. Envy and gluttony are unfortunately two great aspects in our time. And I might be speaking out of place, but it's a good thing that it is there because we can advance our competitive edge. Maybe it may not make sense now, but perhaps in the near future it will. Perhaps it is a good thing that envy and gluttony exists in society today because then we can sharpen our competitive edge, because we don't care what other people think about us. We don't care about what people say behind our backs because 85 to 95% of what they say is complete balderdash. Can I just say it like it is? It's complete bullshit. So I don't care. Ignore it. I have a system in place which helps me get through my day, and I can guarantee you I'm going to excel a lot more better fiscally within my familial structure. I'm going to be hanging out with people who compete on the same level as I do. I'm going to be with people who challenge me. So whatever, IDAGF, India Delta Alpha Golf Foxtrot. Practice that I don't give a F muscle, because you eliminate the people and the things that don't matter to you. The caveat, though, is, and again, I'm going to hammer on this highlight, us versus them. Mentally inferior people who want to bring you down because they have low, poor self-image might even change tack, because this happened to me last year. They will try to lower you down and try and see if they can't bring you to their side. So they will perhaps even try and give you a modicum of appreciation, sing your praises, just to try and see if you won't be able to lower your standards just even by a tad so that they can try and control you. Never wage war with people like that. That is a big caveat, though. Wage war with your mind. Ask yourself, what am I doing today that's going to give me the edge, which is going to improve my finances, which is going to improve the relationship with the one that I love, with my friends whom are high performers, who are excelling? What am I doing to improve this Pentium 4, this Pentium 21 in my system? What am I doing to advance that? And with regards to mentally inferior people, just turn around, walk away, never be a brute to them. It's going to bite you from behind. I speak from experience. And that being said, I spoke about being around high-performing people, your presence will determine the social circle that you preoccupy. And there's something that I should add to that, because the profoundest thing that you and I can have as apex predators is the amount of influence, how we rub off on people, right? So, and I've heard people knock this, and I am unfortunately not one of them. I'm in fact one of their biggest advocates. There's nothing wrong with an alpha male mentality. It's the origin of leadership. Look, it is integral to have people in your life. So you need to be a team player. You need to have a team. But there's an inside team and an outside team, I've come to recently learn. It's in the book Man Up, How to Cut All the Bullshit Out of Your Life by Bedros Keuilian of Fit Body Bootcamp, Monday Night Project, the Squire Program, and a whole bunch of other initiatives. Phenomenal social media influencer. I've communicated with him a number of times. He's also been a very controversial personality because a lot of what he says doesn't sit well within the herd mentality. And naturally, when you speak the truth hurts. And I'm not going to knock him. I'm not going to knock him. I'm not going to knock Steve Eckert and Ray Kashkar, two of his partners. Ray Kashkar, by the way, was in the selection on the History Channel. Now, if you think Bedros is a very, very uppity sort of person, if that would be the characterization that the herd would give him, I don't even want to know what bad words they give people like Steve and Ray, because they are twice as worse. If you've actually seen some of the videos that they put up of the Monday Night Project, you would swear that they are dictators left and right, with emphasis maybe on the first couple of letters. But that being said, if you think about why it is that they are being so brutish towards all those entrants, it's because that is the kind of adversity that one can expect in life. And they are taking their training. Remember, Steve is a former Marine. Ray Kashkar is a former Navy SEAL. They are taking experiences that they've had, Ray with Buds and Steve with the boot camp that he went through to become a Marine, and they are incorporating it together, and they are the drill sergeants towards the new recruits in camp. So they're doing nothing wrong, in essence. They are just implementing the kind of adversity that one is to expect in life, the obstacles that one throws us. But I diverted off the topic. I was speaking earlier about the inside team and the outside team. But the hardest lessons are learned when no one is watching. Cam Haines, who wrote Endure, phenomenal bow hunter, phenomenal endurance athlete, said it best. No one cares, work harder. So that laconic reflection is at play. And the greatest lessons are learned also in large groups. So have an inside team, have an outside team. Your inside team is your familial structure, the people closest to you. The outside team is people who you aspire to, who you want to do business with, and they will help you either through what they say that might rub off on you, much like this show, or private conversations that you might have where they perhaps might give you helpful advice and you can put it into your toolbox. Part of getting back up 10, especially from an abysmal failure, is not to see yourself as a failure, is my next highlight. Just because you failed doesn't mean that you're a failure. You're only a failure if you completely give up. I said it, Cam said it, Ray Kashkar by coincidence said it, ring the bell. You're only a failure when you give up. Consider yourself, if I could add my own little spice to the mixture, consider yourself a big block of marble. The hammer upon which is used to chisel you out of that marble is life. The chisel is the failure. It symbolizes failures that you go through. Add those together, you get a defined structure like the statue of David, which was carved by Michelangelo Buonarroti. In fact, it was said that Michelangelo thought in his mind that he pictured David being encased, caught in the block of marble, and carved him out in order to free him. Use that formula with yourself. And remember, FAIL is an acronym which stands for First Action in Learning. You decide what you become because of it. If you can think as to what area or aspect of your life you can rectify, you've immediately learned from that experience. Everything is a lesson. Remember, this is the university of life. And I spoke about Ray Kerr and Steve earlier on, and this alludes to as well to my opening monologue. Why would people act in a hard manner? The last two chaps are a perfect example. Because by outward appearance, we've been programmed to think of them as a bully. It's not the truth. Being instructors and having instructed other cadets and other potential SEALs, they do that. They adopt the persona of a screaming and shouting lunatic to help you control your focus and rectify and sharpen your endurance for battle. That is their job. And even in more modern terms, you call that being cruel to be kind. So the onus is up to you. You might think of them as being a bully, but the truth is they are there to help you. The thing is, you can't just say to yourself, maybe they are trying to push me in the direction of which I'm supposed to go because they see the potential I have. Simple. It's that simple. But they don't break you down. They just want to build you up to persevere. Because life is going to throw you curveballs. I'm certainly not the first, but I also will not be the last. And unfortunately, this soft society is headed for disaster if I don't say it like it is. And I'm saying it not because I want to judge you, it's because I want to help you, because I love people. I just can't baby them all the time. And it's interesting, and this is the last time I will just go off on a tangent here. I was speaking about this very subject this morning over coffee with my mother. We've just become so lulled into complacency to help baby other people, but even though we can see something is wrong, instead of counseling, advising, and holding one another accountable, we just baby all the time. We just baby all the time, and hopefully things will get better if we just show them that love. We'll help them even more. We will help them even more when we are cruel to be kind. My thought from me to you. That being said, I spoke about being cruel to be kind. The best lessons come from suffering. You may not want to hear it, but I'm going to say it. The best lessons in life come from suffering. It happens in any way to all of us, so you can try and run away from it, or you can say, bring it, bitch. Because here's a couple of things that you ought to think about, especially if you're on the situation right now and you feel like there's no way to go from here or there. Remember I read you that quote by the late Staff Sergeant Randolph Elder. I almost used the American lilt in that. Staff Sergeant Randolph Elder. He said, hard work wins. You get out what you put in. And before you bitch and moan and say what people have done wrong to you, take a good long look at yourself in the mirror. David Goggins would have perhaps said the accountability mirror, and ask yourself, what could I have done to do something different? Because no matter how good, how moral, how hardworking you are, bad things will happen. Case in point. So here's a couple of questions that perhaps you could have asked yourself. What could I have done in that moment to perhaps turn the scales to my favor? Am I going to blame everyone? Because I've been in that situation where I've expressed my frustration and emotion, and my mother would say to me with a very solemn look on her face, I'm not your enemy, would be her reply, and I would feel so terrible. So you're hurting yourself and you're hurting others by consistently casting blame on everyone who loves you. How am I in that given moment of confrontation, and did it make me better or worse? Those are the questions that only you can answer. Between you and your higher power, whether you say it is God or Hashem or Yahweh, however so. I combine all three. How I see myself through the eyes of my higher power will determine the way going forward for me. Which brings me back to forgiveness. Only through forgiving can I ask myself these questions. So learn to make suffering your learning tool. Get over the hurt by forgiving. Do whatever you need to be proactive. And and then ask yourself these questions, because I guarantee you, you'll walk away a lot more enriched than what you will be feeling afflicted. And the biggest hurt, oh my, comes from those closest to you. Remember we spoke about mentally inferior people. Not everyone is on your level, which even includes friends and family, because they weren't on your level when you were in the trenches. But isn't it funny to think that... sorry, I just want to take another snifter of water. There we are. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. There we go. When you were in the trenches, did friends and family come to help you? No, they didn't. Let's say, argument's sake. But when you were doing well, your bank account was nice and flush, all your bills are paid, you've got excess to spend, all of a sudden they are standing in a queue by your front door hoping for a handout. You have to switch off that mentality, because the big secret is they just think of you as a convenience. They will curse your name behind your back when you don't help them. They'll talk garbage about you. And if they weren't in the trenches with you, why should you help them? Yes, blood is thicker than water, but it's the people who stays who remain your family. As a result, if I could use myself as an example once again, a lot of my friends reside in just across from the Mid-Atlantic Ocean. And when I came to recovery initially, it was the Americans and the Canadians who came to my aid, took me under their wing, gave me some valuable advice, and as a result, the moment that I got wind of where they might be in hurt or just in need, I would come running to their aid. It can be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't be bothered. I would come to their aid. That is how investment works. The amount of investment that you put into something over an excess period of time or a given period of time will ultimately determine the return on investment that you ultimately get. And if you're going to invest in a bad investment, and I'm keeping this all completely within layman's terms to make it understandable, if you make a bad investment, you're going to go completely bankrupt, especially in friendship and even in a familial structure. So I'm not saying forsake your family, but take a good long look at how you are seen. Are you the black sheep? Are you the dark horse? Because this nonsense of you should be on standby to help your family when they weren't even there helping you is a complete nonsense in my book. Love them, pray for them, forgive them, but walk away. Because that's what we had to do. I'll keep this confidential, but my mother and I had a situation as well where one of our family, sadly, had not been doing well, but it was a roadmap to disaster where we saw the destruction, we tried intervening, and said party would not listen. Ultimately, when said party had a very bad health setback, all of a sudden it was looked on us to help, and we were forced into it. And the more I said we can't get involved because we're not in the position to help, and after all, it's not being appreciated, it wasn't taken very well until my point was proven and we backed off away. And sadly, that is something that has to be taken into consideration. There is destruction within families. There is narcissistic tendencies within family structures. And I'm saying this because I have been there, that I came to the conclusion that blood is not necessarily thicker than water. Yes, your family has been blessed unto you, but if that relationship has been destructive, you have no obligation to be in their lives, none whatsoever. Sorry. That's just how I see things from that prism. That being said, none of my family have the right to tell me, going on into that, using that example, have to tell me what I have to contribute. My success is between me and my Maker. He will tell me. Honor begins at home. Charity begins at home. So my high, as a result, continuing on in a more positive fashion, is to perform better than what I did the last time. Here I can use running as a good example. I love to run every morning between the hours of 4 and 5 before I start my day. I love that serotonin rush. When I get up, I have some water. I read my Bible to get my morning bread, have my cup of coffee. By this time, I'm already in runner's gear, got my cap on the head because, after all, I've had a rough night. I had a restful night, so my fringe is hanging 180 degrees all over the place. So having a cap on helps to conceal my shame, and then I go and run. And I always try and do better on my miles than what I had done the last time. Because the moment that I've got that under my belt, I'm ready to take on the day as is to follow. And I want to participate in a marathon. So in my mind as well, I'm running towards a goal. I'm running towards a goal and I'm preparing for it. But to me, it's not about the end result. It's about the process. That is, to me, the definition of success. My mindset is as follows. And you can take this for yourself, should you so wish. People's insults are asinine. But at the same time, I don't let accolades and accomplishments dominate me. But I do remember them. David Goggins used this beautiful analogy of the cookie jar, along with the accountability mirror. Whatever victories you have accumulated yesterday, keep them in that cookie jar. But don't murmur on it, because that can make you complacent. The great writer J.S. Cardone said something similar to the effect of, which I read in a diary the one day, these motivational diaries that you get. Don't let the victory of yesterday lull you within the complacency of today, for that is the greatest foundation of failure. So we spoke about the biggest hurt and your success being between you and your maker. So to conclude that highlight, how to overcome hurt. I've developed this formula myself in wording, but it's based on similar teachings of other great philosophers and coaches. It's quite simply outlearn, out-earn, outshine. In other words, do this behind closed doors. Privately, the results will speak louder than words. Work speaks for itself after all. And watch the haters suck up to you. Now, that's my biggest pet peeve, but I'll leave that for another occasion. And then closing off the last point. The greatest victories lay on the other side of suffering. I mentioned that life lessons are the intricate rewards of the University of Life. Everything can't be spoon-fed to you. It can, argument's sake, but will you appreciate it and will you understand it? I doubt. And I've said this in many talks that I've given online, and I've said this in one-on-one conversation, but you have to have your experiences. Good times can be an experience too, you might retort. Yes, I agree. But that is dopamine. You get the dopamine hit from something that is good. But in small doses, it's beneficial. Large doses, Fat Albert. Had to say it. But would you appreciate it if everything was given to you? You have to start learning through suffering. Your mindset will be a lot more fine-tuned. And you will put that life lesson into play the very next time that you are faced with perhaps one of the very biggest conflicts that you can ever face. And you don't have to do it with emotion or with aggression. You'll do it like what I am, stoic. It happened to me a couple of times where I would be in a situation where I don't want to be in, but not getting emotional helped me because it made the other party, come on, man. Being stoic and not showing emotion helped me remain stoic and made the other party look like a fool and like a child. And it helped settle a conflict a lot more remedially and democratically as what it would have a fist fight. I don't mind getting my knuckles dusted, but what is the ultimate conclusion to that? The other person gets a broken jaw. I might end up in jail for first-degree assault. I don't want that. But let me use another finite example. Conflict is unavoidable, so don't sidestep it. Rather, take it head on. Try and see how you can remediate that, but at the same time as well, you'll walk away a lot more matured because of it. That's the best answer that I can give you. And when you have the opportunity to walk away, walk away. Don't stay and further the brush fire. You'll just end up getting burned. But you can't learn this from someone telling this to you. You have to have been there to experience it, take the lesson from it, and put it into practice going into the foreseeable future. Having been there myself, and I say this in sympathy, if you are going through something similar, I get where you're going to. I get that you feel the need to be compensated for hours lost, finances lost, relationships broken, and you want it now. But it doesn't work that way. I want to share a Bible verse with you, and this is what helped me. It can help you too, because that's the higher power I serve. Jeremiah 29:11, which reads, "For I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans for you to prosper and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." That's why I am so excited for every given day. Because of all the pain that I have had to endure in order to get to where I'm going, I've walked away a lot better from it because I choose to be better. I choose to get back up. I choose to forgive my partners who muscled me out of my previous place of employment. I choose to put my best foot forward every given day because there are people who care about me and see the potential in me. And everything that I've lost, which is the hidden key of that Bible verse, will be given back to me. If you don't think that's true, look at Isaiah 62. There will be your answer. There's no such thing as wallowing in this life. You cannot afford to wallow in misery or depression. You know the alarm bells that will go off in your head saying, "I need help." What's stopping you? Pick up the phone, talk to someone, get that pain off your chest, but open your ears when they speak in your favor and speak in your interest. And I say this because I want to see you get better. And I say this because I want to see you become an unbreakable mind, an unstoppable force, an untamed spirit, an army of one. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode, and plus also a new bonus series is on the horizon. More details to follow. But in the meantime, my name is Chris Nell. God bless.